And we are back to our hangouts with Peter and Sophie. And today we have a very interesting topic because everybody's running around like a headless chicken when we talk about work. And we should discuss this. What is real work? Does your work make sense or not? I can start with a story from when I started working. It was in another life, basically, because I work as a financial analyst in a bank. Very, very, very boring job. I had to do reports about the financial part of companies. So my day was to be spent in an office with not much of natural light, and it, I had to be the whole day doing this type of work. But the thing is that sorry, something happened with the sound. Again, it's the echo that appeared. I don't know why, but okay. So I will hold this phone. So I was saying that at some point I was working in DS Bank, and I had like this idea that I didn't need to work many hours in order to get the results. But unfortunately, I had a boss, that director, that he believed in presence, in evaluating people by their presence. So he would love to come around at 8 in the night and see who were still working there. And my colleagues that knew how he worked, they were there, but they organized their life in a different way. So let me explain. I would arrive at the same time as my colleagues, and I have a great example of a guy that worked beside me, that he would arrive at the same time, and I would sit, open my computer, and start working. He would sit, and he would open the computer and go for coffee. No, breakfast, sorry. And then he would come back, I would still be working, and at some point he would go for coffee, and several times going for coffee during the morning. And then we had like a separate lunch hours, so there would be always somebody there. And after lunch, he would go for coffee. When I would leave around 5 o'clock, he was coming back from his snack. So he would be really until 8 o'clock, but he would be more going out, in and out of the office more times than working, basically. So it was interesting because I see in a lot of companies that a lot of people are worried in the appearance of working. And this is something that it's interesting, because to give you let's say a wrap up of that story, I quit my job and after 2 years there, and I went after 1 month to visit my colleagues, and I was talking with that director, my director, and he said something very surprising to me, that I was really a pain in the ass, because I was always trying to change the way people work and things like this. But he discovered, doing his statistical analysis, that I was the guy that was doing more reports than the whole department. It was funny because he had this statistical tool to evaluate people, and he lost, according to him, his best analyst and he didn't notice that at first that he lost it because he thought that observation by presence would be more important. And I think that uh, and the lesson that I got from this is that people are like trying to be defensive about their work. So show that they are working in some way. It might be email ping pong. That is one of the major sports in offices nowadays. That is email ping pong. So I send an email and somebody sends me an email back, and then I'm back. And something that I can solve in 5 minutes with a phone call and an email, I do it like for a whole month. So that I call it email ping pong. So there is a lot of these kind of things, but I can show that I did stuff. You know, it is important that I show that I did stuff. What do you think about? Do you have this kind of experience, or did you see this in other context?
Mm-hmm.
Who wants to start?
Yeah, well, I just reflect on that thing. I notice that many people I know who's working within professional services here in London, they have that kind of management where they appreciate work hours, but they don't appreciate good communication and effective communication. And I see it quite often. And in my jobs, I've always had like jobs that has involved being very social and do lots of meetings and things that are very hard to measure. When I've been working in the corporate world, then it's like hard to sort of feel accomplished, but at the same time, if you have reports and meetings on a regular basis and you follow up what's been done, you can sort of see a trend. Oh, this was an efficient week for me and the team, or it wasn't. But also, like, just one thing that I think we don't do enough, we don't reflect enough about what we do, why we do it, with who we're doing it, and then also, like, it's very easy to be positive and like say things like, that's a great idea, I really like it. But the thing is, if you say that about everything, you try to just acknowledge and agree with people, you're never going to do any progress. You're going to be standing on the same spot, more or less, because new ideas are challenging, they're uncomfortable, it's not fun to work with them. You know, you feel like incompetent when you work on new things. And real work for many people is doing the same thing over and over and over again.
I heard a story once. I don't know if it's a completely true story, but there is an AEG factory in Germany that was completely leveled by Allied bombing. And the only building that was standing up after all the bombing was the administrative building. And people were working like hell in the administrative building, even though they had no factory. But they were passing papers from place to place, and everything was working like a clock. Fantastic. But there was nothing being produced. But papers were passing by. And I really agree with you, Sophie. And one of the things that I think that is one of the most important exercises, even for our sanity, is to do something that is like look at yourself working. And make these kind of questions. What I'm doing makes sense? Does it make sense? Because it's really complicated when you start looking to stuff that you are doing and you see that you can maybe invest a little bit of time and learn a faster way to do it, or even better, not to do it. There is another story of from here some years ago, from the government agency that issues driver's license.
Yeah.
And there was a new director that was being introduced to the people, and at some point he passes by an office and sees a lady that has 2 piles of driver's license in each side, and he didn't understand clearly what she was doing, and he asked, "What are you doing?" And she explained she was like looking to the driver's license to see if it corresponded to what was on the screen, in order to see what was printed was okay. So she was actually checking printings. And this guy picked up all the license from one pile to the other side and said, "Your work for today is done." And she was like crazy because, oh my God, now how I do know what are the good ones? Because she never found the bad one, of course, because when you send printing, it doesn't print another thing. But she really didn't look to her own job and check what she was doing. Peter, any thoughts about today's hangout?
Oh, I have a lot of thoughts. It's a great topic, and it's one that I personally grapple with as well. Okay, a couple of things. First of all, I think it's really interesting in our culture, and I don't know if it's the same over in Portugal, but people often ask you the question, "Are you busy?" And busyness in our culture is considered to be good. It's good that you're busy. And I often think that probably a better word, but it'd be a very challenging word, is to ask people, "Are you productive?" instead of "Are you busy?" Because people wear busyness as a badge of honor, and I count myself in that. I have days when I'm very, very busy, but I actually look back and say, did I really achieve anything that was worthwhile? I think there's probably something in neuroscience that can tell us about what drives the behaviors as well. I was interested in your story, and you know, I've witnessed that presenteeism behavior. But what's interesting to me is when I work for myself, there is nobody that I have to impress. I don't have to be at my desk at any particular time. And yet I have this behavior driving me that I've got to be busy all the time, as if somehow I'm justifying my existence on planet Earth, which is quite sad, and I've got quite a journey myself to take with that, because I somehow think working longer hours is a good thing, and yet those hours are often not as productive as they could be. And I think technology can be used by us to create the sense of being busy. You know, sending emails back and forward is a great example, and I think it's great that some businesses say, let's have an email-free day where you actually have to talk to someone. I remember many years ago I used to share an office with a secretary at the company I worked with, and I caught myself one day sending her an email when she was literally sitting just across from me, and it would have been better to just speak to her. Yeah. One of the signs that I think people get that shot of dopamine, which is that feel-good chemical in the brain, is when they do something, is endorsements on LinkedIn. And this is a particular gripe of mine, because endorsements on LinkedIn are pretty meaningless when anybody can click something that is an endorsement. I have endorsements from people who barely know me, who endorse me for leadership development or executive coaching. And it's a joke, because they don't even know me. They've never seen me work. They might have met me once at an event and we've connected on LinkedIn. But that to me is a simple example where it comes up on the screen and you think, oh, I'll click that because I'm doing something, but they're not really doing anything of value. So that's one thing. I'll have a bit of a gripe about call centres in a moment, but I'll the whole session.
Yeah.
It is interesting that nowadays the technology. I remember when I start seeing technologies like email, internet, and I thought, wow, we will do work so fast that we will have less time to work. We don't need to work so many hours. But now people work more and more hours, and and I think also it has to do with this sense of importance, that if you are busy, the thing that you are busy. I remember that I had an episode with my kid when he was like 5 years old. I asked him why didn't you put your room together, and he turns to me and said, "Daddy, I had no time." And clearly he had the time, but so I decided to ask him, "Can you show me your agenda, and I will show you mine?" And he said, "Well, what is an agenda?" So the thing is that many grown-ups don't know exactly what is an agenda. They think that an agenda is something that it's a book of intentions that you put some stuff there instead of doing really goals of things that you really want to do and have to do, and choose your priorities. I think the technology actually is not helping because people are getting a lot distracted, and there is a thing that I really hate, and I think that is a big lie that is being sold. That is a thing called multitasking, and that people are like, even very responsible people in the HR area are writing articles in saying that, well, these new generations are multitaskers, and that is such BS, because the brain is the same. We are not built for multitasking. We are not.
Can I say one thing about multitasking there? That I listened to a researcher who researched in work environments, and she said that people who are, have 20 years experience of working, they are much better at multitasking than people between 20 and 25 who have very little experience, because they have done it and they can handle things at the same time, but younger people can't. And then at the same time, like, distraction is the new norm.
Distraction.
Oh,
I thought you said distraction.
What do you mean?
No, it's a new norm. It's like normal to be distracted all the time. How many people are sitting at work not being distracted like every 20 minutes?
Yeah. Distracted. I understood distracted. So, I had the same problem as Peter. No, but you create environments for that. For instance, open space environments, very good for communication. Again, very bad.
Yes.
Very bad.
I agree. I think that's open plan offices were considered to be a great step forward, but I don't think they are. And I think there are some people who have the ability to shut off all that extraneous noise. But I think a lot of people aren't able to do that, and you can't help but be distracted by what's going on around you.
Mm.
But you can enter an office like this and show, look at all my employees there. I'm so important.
Yeah. And also it saves space.
From office to office, or even worse, let me show you how many people are working from home. You cannot show that. It's you cannot demonstrate your power when you say, well, I have a team of 20 people working around the world from their homes.
Yeah, there's probably some ego in there.
I think that is one of the reasons of the open spaces and big buildings, because if you start thinking, work doesn't happen there, because you ask these people, you need to do a report, you need to have really concentrated time, you cannot be disturbed. What you do, you get out of there.
Yeah.
Everybody says, I get out of there, or I will wait that everybody will get out, or I will arrive earlier.
Yeah.
So why does it exist? Because somebody likes to show the troops. Somebody likes, this is my army, this is my clerk army.
But also it's control and trust, isn't it? Because if you can't see them, then you're not necessarily trusting that they're working for you.
Yeah, the same, but it's the same problem as that my first director. He had this notion that people would be working if they would be there.
That's right.
But it doesn't work like that.
Yeah. And you have to frown too. You have to look very serious and intense. If people are smiling and laughing, then they're clearly not working.
They are probably. It depends on the environment, because in another environment like an advertising agency or something like that, they are being creative. Okay, but if they are auditors, no smiling, please. There should be like a kind of sign: no smile, please. Like no mobile phones, no smiles, no jokes. This is a serious thingy. I saw that actually in security at the airports in the States. I think it was like in San Diego airport. They had like, we are doing a very important job. Don't joke with us. Something like this.
Yeah, yeah.
So so you cannot say, okay, let me take the bombs and the guns, and because they will get that serious, and you will be on the floor and people will be shouting at you.
Yes.
So but again, but I think there is a new generation. I see from my kids. My kids are what nowadays called the millennials, and they don't understand the way that people work. Maybe also because I work in my own home. This is my home office, so I have absolutely great conditions for that, because I have better conditions that most offices have, most deluxe offices, because I have a wonderful view. I have high-speed internet and things like this. So nowadays, when the conditions for having an office, and it's even funny because in many offices, they are implementing the policy that you buy your own equipment. So if you are like a Mac lover, you bring your Mac. If you are a PC lover, you bring your PC, and you only make connections with this. So in a way, we are like going out from that model a step by step. But I think most people still see the office as a very important part of their social life. So, and they mix it all together. Don't you think so?
Yeah.
The industrialization of work has been interesting, and I think the modern day equivalent of the factory is the call center. And I'm sure everyone's had frustrating experiences with call centers, but you know, if you think about what a job is really about solving a problem. And in my experience of dealing with a lot of call centers, people are only concerned with following a set of rules rather than solving the problem for the customer. So, for example, when I was in Australia recently, and after my father passed away, I was having to help my mother, you know, sort things out. And a good example was the car insurance. So my dad had the car insurance in his name, but my mother was a designated driver. And when I arrived over there, he called the insurance company to say that, you know, he wanted me to be able to drive the car as well, so that I'd be covered. And after he died, I called the insurance company, and I got someone in a call center, and I asked them a very simple question. I said, "Can you confirm that my mother is insured to drive the car, because I didn't have a certificate in front of me, and that I'm also still insured to drive the car because I wasn't sure what arrangement he'd made." And the person said, "I can't give you that information." Now, I had a serious problem there, because my mother is freaking out because she's thinking, well, maybe I wasn't insured. Now, I was 99.9% sure that she was okay, but I was wanting to just check these things. And he said, well, we can't give any information, and we have to see a death certificate. And I said, well, the death certificate hasn't arrived yet. Anyway, after a frustrating few minutes with this person, it was clear that he wasn't interested in solving our very serious problem. So I hung up, and then I found a different phone number, and I called and I said, look, this is a difficult situation I have, and I really need your help, and you may not be able to solve it. But anyway, he did solve it. He said, well, what I can do is I can send you a copy of the certificate to the email we have on file. So he did that. He sent it through, and there it was. Now, he solved the problem, whereas the other person was more concerned about, what he could and couldn't do, and that his job would be at risk if he didn't, follow the rules kind of thing, instead of thinking creatively about solving our problem. And I've had lots and lots of experience with that. And it's really refreshing when very occasionally you get someone in a call center who genuinely empathizes and does everything in their power to help solve the problem. Mm. And just one more thing, what I particularly get frustrated by is when you're having a long conversation with someone trying to solve this really major issue. At the end of the conversation, what do they always say to you? What do they ask you?
Is there anything else I can do?
Is there anything else I can help you with? And I just want to throw the phone across the room, because I only have one thing that I want solved, and you've failed to help solve this problem. And then you have the audacity to ask me if there's anything else you can help me with.
Because it's on the script.
It's on the script, exactly. That's the whole point. It's on the script. So these people are like sitting in a little cubicle with their headset on, following a script, following the rules, and forgetting the real purpose of why they're there. And I think that can happen to any of us. We get so hung up on doing something that we forget why we're even there.
And then we look to that movie of Charlie Chaplin, Modern Times.
Yeah.
And we think, oh, what stupid thing he's doing like this in the factory. Yeah. And when he's sleeping, he's doing the same way. And we say, oh, that is so stupid. That was those days.
The old days, yeah.
But now maybe that guy in the call center is saying in his sleep, oh, there's not anything I can do for you.
Yeah.
And maybe he has somebody laying down in bed and say, yes, you could, but you didn't.
Yeah.
Oh.
Well, I think we have just created a society that is built up of systems that doesn't link that well together.
That's right.
And I don't know how many hours I've been spending on trying to solve problems with different companies that I'm a client of, but I can promise you it's probably like a work week altogether.
Oh, easily. Yep.
And if everyone does that in every country, that's a big loss.
Yes.
Yes, because they cannot they're not training their staff, and they are not buying systems that links together.
Yes.
They do something else. They're like random technology put together.
Yes. Yes, I had an issue, or I have an ongoing issue with a particular bank, and I needed to have a conversation with somebody. I really wanted to sit down and speak to someone face to face about this issue, and I ended up on a call center, and I said, look, this is no value to me what you're saying. I really need to speak to someone. So they said, so they put me through, and the next thing I'm speaking to someone with a foreign accent, and I said to this young woman, I said, where are you? And she said, I'm in Manila. And I said, I'm asking to speak to a person face to face, and you are not able to help me with that. Oh, sorry, sir. So then she puts me back to another, and then I end up back in the original call center I was here in the UK, but I never got the solution to my problem. And we spent hours and hours and hours on this stuff. There was a great book written years ago. I met the authors called The Support Economy. And they talk about something called standard enterprise logic, whereby most of today's companies are built around, or the companies that we've grown up with, are being built around this standard enterprise logic, which places the company at the center of their universe, and the clients, the customers, are on the outer, and the companies are built to serve themselves effectively. And we're just commodities to them. And they have this thing, oh, the customer is king and the customer is center of the universe and all of that. They have the words, but the behaviors are built around the standard enterprise logic, which is protect the company and screw the customer. And what these people are saying is that the companies in this modern era, because people today want that self-actualization, they want to be recognized as individuals and treated properly, and people are getting fed up with it, and they say that any company that knows how to truly put the customer at the center will do extremely well. And a really good example, I may have talked about this on a previous hangout, is Amazon, where I recently had to return something, and the whole system is built around making it easy for me, so that I get a person immediately on the phone. I'm not waiting for hours. I'm not going through telephone trees to get to the right person. I get immediately to someone who immediately solves the problem. And that's really, really refreshing. And I'm not saying Amazon's a perfect company. They've got a bad reputation in other areas, but in terms of looking after the customer, other companies could learn a lot from them.
So we are reaching the half an hour of our hangout. Time flies, and I would like to try to finish with something that we see the problems, we have all the diagnostics. So we as people, do not put it like the companies, they should do something. We as people, as individual, what can we do to have a more, not only productive, but happier work? Because when we have a sense that things make sense, our work is happier. So what are your key advices on how to make sense?
Well, I think there's a whole thing around finding meaning and purpose in what you do and connecting it to an end result and feeling that it resonates with you at a deeper level rather than simply doing something. So just coincidentally, this morning I was reading my copy of A New Earth by Eckhart Tolle, and he was talking specifically about parenting, but I thought this was quite appropriate to our topic today. He said, doing is never enough if you neglect being. The ego knows nothing of being, but believes you will eventually be saved by doing. If you're in the grip of the ego, you believe that doing more and more, you'll eventually accumulate enough doings to make yourself feel complete at some point in the future. You won't. You'll only lose yourself in doing. The entire civilization is losing itself in doing, but is not rooted in being and becomes futile. And I think it comes back to this whole notion of just being busy, you know, doing, and forgetting why. What's the purpose of this? Would it really matter if I didn't do this? Who's it helping? Who's it impacting? So I think as individuals, we have to find a way of connecting what we do with meaning and purpose, that it's helping someone, adding some value somewhere in the world. And I think we too easily lose sight of that. So that's my view.
Yeah.
Sophie.
I have some thoughts about when you are... Now I hear myself, I hear the echo. No, but with getting things done that actually means something for you, you have to reflect, you have to communicate in an adult way. And last year I organized an event where we were about 10 people having a quite deep discussion about global issues in the world. And there were so many people who said that they had so many childish discussions with their work colleagues that they would never make any progress. So they were just tired of working with them, for them, under them, over them. So that was the communication problem. So I definitely think, you know, have better reflective communication going on a regular basis, and then think seriously about what's happening with what you're doing and who are you influencing and affecting with your behavior.
I think my advices are going a lot towards what you were saying. First of all, I think that you have to make a career change. Career decision. You should change career when you stop learning in that career.
Right.
Because if you are not learning the whole time something, you start dying basically. So when you think, okay, I really know everything, there is nothing more that I can learn in this, everything is being already done, move on. Another thing that I like very much that Peter said was the question of being, because many times, and I see that in universities, in any kind of courses, that they are very focused on the know to know and know how, but know to be is not on the agenda. I really like to be, for instance, attended by a doctor that and not only knows what he's doing and knows everything about his work, but he knows how to be a doctor.
Yeah.
It's a completely different thing.
Yes.
And for instance, I coordinate an executive master in digital marketing, and I have a specific module that I work on them to be digital. Because one of the things that I find curious is that there is a lot of people talking about the digital world, blah, 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 but their own behavior is not digital. It's like, oh, no, digital is very good for you guys. And their credibility. It's what Aristotle called pathos. There is no pathos, so you need to have it. And the other thing that Peter was talking about, the doing. People are rewarded by doing, and it's funny because they close the office door and they go out, and what they do buying. So it's and the same principle applies. Why did I bought this? Why did I bought my 100 pair of shoes? Why did I bought this kind of gadget? Why? We are in a society that is all about quantity, and we should start thinking about quality. And
Yes.
and what we do in the workplace reflects on the time that we have out of the workplace. For instance, the time we spend with our kids. Yes,
Yeah.
I spent a lot of time with my kids. Basically, I was answering emails the whole time, and they were also on Facebook the whole time. But I
Yeah.
spent a whole lot of time. It's
Yeah.
very funny because many times, because I travel a lot, people say to me, "Well, you and how is your life with your kids and everything?" And I say always the same. When I'm with them, and that's it. I might be less time in total,
Yeah.
but it's quality time.
Yeah. Good.
100% connection. No doing stuff, trying to do stuff at the same time, trying to do something that is impossible. That is that crazy multitasking.
Yeah.
So, Peter and Sophie, anything else to add?
No, well, my message to everyone is reflect more and think more about what you really do.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's being clear on why you do what you do and aiming to be aligned with that and live that.
Yeah. So, once again, we did a very interesting hangout. It's always good to talk with you guys. I always learn, and it's always a challenge, and mental challenge, and make us think about things that normally with the speed of things we don't think about it, and we get new arguments and even change some ideas. So once again, Peter and Sophie, thank you very much for your time in sharing your wisdom with us.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you. Bye.
Bye.